out here today at Upper Las Virgenes Canyon Open Space Preserve. It's a bit of a mouthful to say, but I had to work this morning, and instead of going straight home, I decided to go for a quick run around the park. So Upper Las Virgenes is about 5,000 acres in size. It's a huge park. There are cool caves to explore, and it also joins onto Chesbrough Canyon, which is owned by National Park Service. But for the purposes of today, we're going to just stick to the trail here. So currently we are on Mary Wiesbrock Loop, I think it's called, and you can see it's a very quiet park, which is really nice. Normally it is kind of busy, but I think we're kind of close to the end of the year, so thankfully I kind of have the trail all to myself, which is awesome. Beautiful wide open rolling meadows, amazing sky here, not a lot of trees and no shade cover. So I'm not a fan of coming out here during the summer, but winter it is amazing, and on a good day you can actually see all the way out to the Angeles National Forest. You can see Mount Baldy, and when it's been a really good winter you can even see the snow-covered top of like Mount Wilson. So most of these trails here were originally carved out as use trails for cattle, as this was private ranching land for most of its life before it was acquired by the Mountains Recreation and Conservation Authority back in the mid-2000s. The original plan for this park, or for this land I should say, was that it was going to be developed by the Washington Mutual Bank as a development, like McMansions basically, and communities. And thankfully all the various land agencies and kind of activist groups joined together to prevent that from happening, and then this property was acquired. There's a couple of different things that make this park really special. One is a very rare species of frog called the California red-legged frog that lives kind of down by the creek side at the trailhead. And then the spine flower was thought to be extinct in 1929 and rediscovered in 1999 when the bank actually sent out its own biologist to survey the property before development plans were being made. And then that kind of gave the agencies an opportunity to step in and block the development, which is really cool. So my goal today is a run of indeterminate time and length. I'm really just exploring, because even though I spend a lot of time up here, it's rarely on the trails, and I haven't actually gone this far back. So normally I kind of loop around at the helipad, which is further back, and I sort of do a loop on the other side. But today I wanted to try out this kind of northern end of the park and see what lies ahead. A beautiful tree here that somewhat survived the fire, I guess. It's still standing. So back in 2018 the Woolsey fire really ravaged this park, but because most of it doesn't actually have trees, it was really grass that burned, and then it kind of came back with a vengeance after the rains that followed right afterwards. So much of the park ended up looking pretty good afterwards, except for those trees. So at this point, the trail splits off into a fork And I think going down that way is a less steep option, but because I'm very curious, I'm going to go there, and in theory it should meet up with the trail that was on my right. It sort of comes around as like a little loop, but looks like this drop off is kind of steeper. Should be fun. And sure enough, it is steep, but not unachievable for my short little legs. Let's give this a try. Well, that wasn't too bad, but it would definitely make a great workout for your butt if you were to go back up it, which I think I will have to. We'll see. I need to get back to my car at some point. Over winter, a very short span of a couple months when the rains are good, Upper Las Virgenes is spectacular. It turns super green, some of which you can kind of see now. Normally it is a pretty brown meadow, but after the rain, when it turns really lush and green, it's gorgeous. I mean, I say it's kind of like being in Ireland, but I know in my heart of hearts it really isn't. But it's the closest that we'll get when we're in California, Southern California, where it's usually pretty dry out here. But we get all sorts of grasses, native grasses growing, a couple of wildflowers, not a huge amount, some lupine, and then also the very invasive Spanish mustard, which, although is very bad for the parks, sometimes does look really pretty. So a couple of months ago I had fibroid surgery, which if you're a lady, or you know a lady who's had this problem, you'll understand that it's a pretty big surgery on your kind of stomach, below the stomach area. And one thing I found is that I'm very gingerly coming back to trail running. I'm not a runner to begin with, but running with kind of like a belly that's still a little bit swollen from surgery has been a little bit difficult. Things kind of jiggle when you don't want them to jiggle. And if you're a runner and you have some tips on how to maybe hold that belly in, like a compression band for a belly, or any other tips of kind of coming back after surgery, hit me up in the comments below. Let me know what your best advice is, because I definitely want to get back up, but it is difficult, I won't lie. Kind of digging this area. This is new to me. It's a very narrow kind of single track, but the kind of cracked mud makes it a pretty hard trail, which is nice, and it's relatively smooth, and I kind of like the look of it. We are heading further down, which means I'm gonna have to run back up it later. Oh no! I really need a selfie stick. Another really cool feature of this park is the fact that over its many lives, it has been a really popular place for filming. So the helipad, which is also known as Laskey Mesa, is named after a 1920s era sort of silent movie director called Jesse Laskey. And he filmed a ton of like westerns and other movies around the park. Parts of Gone with the Wind were also shot at this park. I think it sort of resembled the outer edges of like the taro plantation, but I've never been able to get through that movie, so I can't verify And then more recently, movies like Mission Impossible 3 were shot here, as well as the movie Vice, which is based off of the vice presidents. And actually a lot of that was shot at the ranch house further up. And the ranch house is not normally kind of open for public use, but you can book it out for events and things like that. And filming was done there, and it was the Texan kind of ranch for the vice president. Again, I haven't really seen that movie, but I did kind of skim through it to get the cool photos of the ranch house. It's pretty amazing. It's a Saturday at noon, and there is not really anyone around. I saw a couple of hikers when I first started. There was a couple of horse riders, and then that one guy who was trying to tell me where to go because he thought I was lost, even though I was only taking photos. Thanks, old man. It's pretty amazing though that there isn't that many people. Oh, we just missed some wildlife that was running across. Maybe if we're quiet enough. It's a little bit eerie here. A lot of dead branches from the effects of the Woolsey fire. And some trees came back, which is really cool. Mountain bikers, they're so loud. They're always yelling. Anyway, I stopped here because I wanted to point out there is a couple of like small use trails which basically cut across. We're actually going to go up here right now, and then it's going to loop around where that trail comes around here. But generally you want to stick to the actual trails here because there is a lot of sensitive restoration areas because of the spine flower and the frog that you want to avoid kind of trampling. Usually there are signs around, but if it's unclear to you, I would generally recommend not walking across it because we want to keep this land beautiful. So off we go. We've come to a kind of like a three-way junction right now, and that's more trails. We can go up here, and then we're going to finish off the hike by kind of looping around this hill back to my car. You'll have to excuse my heavy breathing. We're basically at the home stretch now. This is where that trail kind of loops up. So if you go this way, it takes you out to the one of two public trailheads, this one being on Victory Boulevard. But we are going to go up there. We're basically kind of following the Victory Boulevard trail, but we're sort of looping around and up to where I parked my car, which I should caveat is not where you're typically allowed to park, but I have super secret clearance. Off we go. I don't know who Joe is, but he's pretty lucky to have a trail named after him. Life goals. It's another example of a former use trail that they've closed off. And over there to the right is where the parking lot is and the trailhead. This park is so great if you're looking for lots of little kind of short, sharp, steep side trails to get a workout. Really good spot for that. A lot of these little workouts. And then when you're done, you can take the easy way down. Parking lot, park entrance, and you can see all the way out to the Angeles. You can't really see it on this camera, but I can even see snow. It's probably Baldy, maybe Baden Powell, I don't know. And then some super fancy neighbors with their fancy tennis courts. So we're headed down this trail. My car's kind of around there. Over there is a water tank, and the bunkhouse that was built by the last family that owned this property, a very wealthy ranching family called the Barretts. And they built the house in 1938 to raise his two daughters there. There were like stables, and the bunkhouse. So that's kind of where we're headed to complete this loop. And with that, we are done. 5.1 miles in about an hour and 50 minutes or so. It was a pretty gentle hike. We mostly power walked, a little bit of light jogging, but no real running at all. So we took it pretty easy. Thanks for joining me on the hike today. It was really nice to have the company. And if you want to see more hiking videos, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and comment below with what is your favorite trail. And hopefully I will see you out on there. Until next time.